Alright, so we'll cover this video. I'll cover this video. Jumbo Suit Pablo. Okay. I'll cover this video and tell you why I disagree with his assessment.
Ruby Franke, if you don't know, this is a mom influencer slash YouTuber who had a good bit over 2 million subscribers. She would make content based around her children, her husband, her home, her family life, and was kind of known for her, quote, strict parenting, no nonsense, no funny business parenting style. Which now that all this has come out, because she has been arrested and charged with some sickening child abuse charges. Now we know it's not so much strict parenting as it is just plain, just awful, just abuse, downright abuse. Okay. If you don't know, if you haven't been following, look into it. There's no shortage of videos right now about Ruby Franke, what she did, and a lot of what she did, she even did on video and upload.
Yeah, and honestly, it's quite shocking that she had such a large following, that there are that many people that wanted to either watch the train wreck or actually agreed with her parenting methods. It's really gross. It's very scary for society that that's what life looks like right now. I mean, I can't even. I did everything to try and bring joy to my son's world while he was growing up, and I just can't. I can't, you guys.
Loaded herself as content for her viewers to enjoy. You know, just kind of the messed up punishments and treatment of her kids in this household. So one of the kids recently escaped from the bedroom, from the house out a window, and ran to a neighbor's house. He had, the neighbor, there's a awful, hard to listen to 911 call by this grown man calling the police, talking about how a little boy just showed up at his door. You can tell he's had tape. He's got tape around his ankles, tape around his wrists. He's got open wounds, lacerations where he's been either, just bound so tight or just beaten. He's malnourished. He looks emaciated. He came to my door begging for food and for water, and it broke him down. It broke this grown man down into tears. He got choked up on the phone with the 911 operator, just trying to describe the condition of this young boy who had showed up at his door. And thank God he reached out to law enforcement, and this kind of whole thing blew up, and the mother was arrested, and now here we are. And so I think the one thing everybody's kind of curious.
Yeah, and I saw this morning that Kevin Franke has been trying to press criminal charges against his daughter Sherry, who apparently has custody of the other two children, the ones that were not in bondage. And she went back to the house to retrieve some items for them, and he's trying to press criminal charges for theft for her retrieving these items for these children. This family is so disgusting. Good luck, Sherry. I said it on one of my other videos, or maybe more than one of my other videos, that I think that you should have custody. I'm so sorry that that's the family that you got stuck with. We can't always pick our relatives,
It's about what will really happen. We've all seen movies and TV shows. What's life really going to be like, assuming, and I feel pretty confident in saying I assume she will be found guilty, because listen, this is just flat out, hands down, the woman recorded and confessed to most of the stuff she did on camera in her videos, which she then edited and posted herself to her own channel for her millions of viewers and subscribers. So there's not really any denying what she did. So assuming she is found guilty and sentenced to some prison time, everybody wants to know, what will life be like for Ruby Franke in prison? Well, that's what I'm here to tell you. And I already know, someone's already in the comments typing, well, hey, jumpsuit Pablo, hold it, Buster. You did 10 years in a men's prison. What do you know about women's prison and what this woman is going to face from the other woman inmates in a woman's prison? Not exactly your area of expertise. Well, you're right, brother, sister, whatever, you're right. And that's why I reached out to a good friend.
Yeah, well, Christina Randall covered this for a different case, for somebody that got arrested in Florida, and said that the women's prisons are sometimes worse than the men's prisons. So it's possible that they have even less like security protections in the yards, because it's misogyny, right? So they think women are less dangerous or something.
And contact Marcy Marie Simmons. She is a former inmate, a woman who was sentenced to 20 years in the Texas prison system. And now she spends her time not only making content, but even more so advocating on behalf of inmates, more specifically women inmates out there in Texas, because, hey, that's where she's been, that's what she knows, and that's where she can best help. And just kind of fighting on behalf of these inmates who are being mistreated out there. So she knows her stuff. She's been there quite a while. She did just as much time as I did, but she did it in a women's prison. So let's hear it from the woman herself. What is Ruby Franke in for if she goes to prison? So here's my first question for her, and her response to each of the questions I asked. I'll flash them on the screen just so you can read along with me, but I'll read them out loud too. Okay. The first question I asked is, it's Ruby Franke. She's an influencer. She's a YouTuber. She's got a little bit of internet fame. Now, is that enough to make it to where she immediately goes into protective custody? Because if you're a true crime fanatic, if you follow a lot of cases that are in the news, when you have these big cases that are not only in the news, but you got people like Alec Murdoch and others, Lori Daybell, they get Netflix specials about them, and they're just kind of...
Honestly, I think Jody's at more risk than Ruby is, but they're both at risk.
Nationally covered. Is that enough? And not only that, Hollywood celebrities, they go to prison and they kind of automatically go to protective custody. Is her level of fame or also the nature of her charges? Because, hey, you can be an absolute nobody in a men's prison, but if you go there for some type of child-related, the type of charges, a lot of prisons, they know they can't just put you with the other inmates. You'll get hurt. Okay, so they'll kind of automatically put you in protective custody just because of what your charges are. Does her status as a big multi-million subscriber YouTuber, or just the nature of her charges, or both, does that mean she's going to go straight to protective custody and stay there, or what? How does that work? And here was Marcy's answer. Marcy says, if she ends up with a prison sentence, I believe that there's a good chance she would be housed in protective custody, at least at the beginning of her sentence. We often see this with smaller or lesser-known celebrities where they're housed in protective custody until the prison population kind of gets used to that name being there, and then they let them into the general population. And for the record, I agree. I think that's a great answer, and that's what I would suspect. Even women's prison, men's prison, it always kind of goes that way. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about the name being there. I don't know why it's taking so long.
On Hagedorn and Hannah, not far from this point.
I'm Mike Balsamo. I'm the National Law Enforcement Editor for the Associated Press. Larry Nasser, a disgraced team doctor for USA Gymnastics who was convicted of sexually abusing many girls and women, was stabbed multiple times at a federal prison in Florida. Nasser was stabbed in both the back and the chest and is now in stable condition. Sources tell the AP that Nasser was stabbed during an altercation involving a fellow inmate at that prison, USP Coleman, a federal penitentiary in Florida near Orlando. This is the latest serious security incident involving the Federal Bureau of Prisons, which has come under increased scrutiny since the death of Jeffrey Epstein in 2019 at a federal jail in New York City. My colleague Mike Sisak and I have been investigating the Federal Bureau of Prisons since Epstein's death and have uncovered a series of serious allegations of misconduct in the BOP, including those significant staff shortages at prisons across the country. We know that significant staffing shortages played a role in this incident as well. We know that one of the officers involved was working a third overtime shift, so that's 16 hours that officer was on, and the second officer was on a second mandatory overtime shift. This is, again, a significant issue within the federal prison system. This prison in particular has many open vacancies for officer positions. An Associated Press investigation in 2021 found that nearly 1/3 of correctional officer positions at federal prisons across the country remain open, which forces the Federal Bureau of Prisons to use other employees like cooks, teachers, nurses to fill those posts. And we've reported those staffing shortages have led to critical incidents and hampered responses to emergencies like suicides involving inmates.
My point being is that they're underfunded. They are not really concerned about humane incarceration, and it's not looking good for her. If they're only going to keep her in protective custody for a little bit of time, and her story is so widely circulated at this point of how she was malnourishing, withholding meals, removing doors from their bedrooms. They couldn't have any friends, and the two youngest were tied down to the ground with bone-deep lacerations. It's not looking good for her and Jody. It's gonna be very difficult, I think, for them in prison.
These widely known people, they'll hold them in protective custody, and then the inmates, they're like, oh, they're here, so and so's here. Oh, that person that we saw on the news, yeah, they're here. Yeah, they got her right up there in protective custody right now. And then a month goes by, 2 months, 3 months goes by, and everyone knows, and it's old news. Nobody cares anymore. The heat dies down, and hey, whatever, right? At that point, yeah, they'll usually bring them into general population. Also because, and I've mentioned this before, there's only so much space in these protective custody parts of these prisons, whether it's men or women's. There's always a fresh rotation of inmates coming in, and a handful of them are always going to have some threat against them. They did this, they did that, or they messed up here, or they pissed off these people, and they need protective custody. And there's always a more urgent or a more right now, right here, right then situation where something could happen to this person. And you know what? You've been up here a while. I hadn't heard anybody talk about how they want to get you. We're going to send you into general population. We need room. We need the space. We only got 12 cells up here, so she will kind of get cycled into the general population before too long. But yes, I'm sure she will start out in protective custody. So the next question I asked, again, going back to, when guys in men's prison, they come in with these charges against kids, and then you got the kind of molestation style, all that stuff being about just the sickos, those guys are dead men walking as far as what their charges are if they come into general population, right? Is it the same thing for Ruby Franke, this child abuse? I mean, do the women, like these women are mothers, a lot of them, it's I don't know, maybe it's just my opinion, but I feel like they would really not, they would not like that, and I think that's what a lot of, the internet or everyone watching assumes too, so how true is that? How does it really work in there? Or her charges, her specific charges, is that going to breed some hate amongst these inmates, these women inmates?
Yes.
Are they going to come after her? Is she in physical danger once she hit?
Yes. Yes. There's a lot of mothers in prison, you know that. There are a lot of mothers in prison for different crimes that are unrelated to treating their children. You know, they're in there for different reasons. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of resentment about what she did to her kids. And it is so widely known at this point.
General population because of what she did? Here's what Marcy had to say. She says, I don't believe she'll be in any physical danger from the other inmates while she's there. Women's prisons just operate a lot different than men's prisons. She might be ostracized a little bit and left out of certain groups, but definitely not in physical danger. If she gets into some kind of verbal altercation with another inmate, she'll probably be called out for her crime. That's a very interesting answer too. Like she says, I mean, it's different from men's prisons. It's probably a lot less violence there. And I've spoke with Marcy before. We've done interviews about Lori Daybell. It seems that, yeah, as a human being, another inmate probably won't like what they did, but is that something that is just like, all right, no exceptions, zero tolerance, we got to go get her? No, it's not. And it seems like when physical violent altercations occur in these women's prisons, usually, every prison's different, but I'd say majority of women's prisons, and as she says, when altercations break out and they get violent, they get physical, usually they're for something that's more related to what's happened and is more relevant to something in that cell block between the inmates. It's not because of this or that happened outside of prison. It's, you did this, or you mouthed off, or you disrespected her in this way, or you sneezed on my biscuit, stuff. No, but, stuff like that. And, and so when, once something pops.
I disagree with this assessment. I think these two privileged bitches are absolutely gonna get targeted, because probably the most of the prison population are women who had crimes that were trying to elevate their families, right? They were probably involved in theft and stuff that would help, pay their debts and shit like that. And when you see a very privileged millionaire come into prison who has a very public story about abusing her two youngest children to such a degree. I mean, she was abusing all of her children, let's be real. And she was advertising it all over YouTube. But the shit that was discovered on August 30th, I think it would be very difficult to put her into the general population of the prison without her safety being compromised. And that's not because I personally have compassion for her, but I do have compassion for prison inmates, and I do think that they should be able to have humane incarceration while it's going on. And I don't think it looks good for her at all. I'm surprised that these two are like, I don't know, it's probably gonna be fine. Probably be fine.
Off, then yeah, the people who feel some kind of way, deep down on the low, they'll probably, they're gonna use that as ammo when they're arguing, going, man, what? Oh, get out of my face, you child abuser, you know what I mean? Something more like that. So yeah, it'll probably get brought up, and I'm sure, a lot of women in there won't like it, but it's not enough to cause them to go out of their way to physically harm her. for it. And hey, that makes sense. So that's some good insight from Marcy. And then also I kind of asked real quick, what about the guards? They're supposed to be professional. They have a job to do. Guards usually don't get too involved in things, but if anything, what do you think will happen just from the guards? What are they going to think about what she did? Will they go out of their way to do anything or play any part in this? And, what happens there? Here's what Marcy said. The staff is likely to be more hard on her because of her crime. Little things like not opening her cell door for chow or throwing her magazine in the trash at mail call. The staff can also get messy about people's charges, and they're likely to tell other inmates what she's there for. There will be whispers behind her back and that kind of thing. And that makes so much sense, and it, to us out here, maybe not us, not me and you. I've been there. Sorry. Yeah, I've been there. You haven't, loser. No, sorry. Yeah, I've been to prison. I'm just saying, I understand that these things may sound petty or small. Oh, they're going to throw my magazine in the trash. Oh, wow.
Well, it'll be more than that, because it's not only going to be, I know about your crimes, it's going to be, I know about your net worth and how fucking ridiculous it is that you actually did this being a millionaire.
No. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Listen, if people are looking forward to those magazines, they don't have anything. These things that are like, it's a little thing. Oh, you're not going to open my cell door so I can't get these cold grits in the morning? Guess I got to wait till lunch, Yeah, you do, and that sucks because you're probably hungry. Yeah, they will throw your magazine in the trash when they got all the mail and they're calling people's mail out. Ruby Franke got Martha Stewart Living magazine. Trash. You thought you were going to decorate your cell and get some inspiration from Martha? Nope. Trash. And you know what? That hurts because you don't have anything else. You're looking forward to that magazine. I promise you are, because I used to get People magazine and like some other magazine, and I used to look forward to it every week. And if I didn't get it, boy, I tell you, that hurt me. It did, all jokes aside. In prison, the little things become big things and it affects your quality of life because the life quality in there already is so crappy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean that can kind of suck big time for her. But there's that answer. To kind of end it off, I'll just tell you her kind of closing remark here to put a cap on it. She says, protective custody, which in essence is a lot like solitary confinement. True. We see a lot of child abuse and bad child crimes housed there because of their severe mental illnesses. While she's in protective custody, honestly, the officers probably won't even give her any grief because they've seen a lot worse than Ruby Franke in her situation back there. That's pretty interesting, and that's something to think about. Food for thought there.
I don't know about that, because I think that the officers, as well as the fellow inmates, are also going to consider that this woman was really rich. And it's not like she was in a situation where she couldn't afford to take care of her kids. And so therefore she was like taking out her aggressions because she was so indebted, or like having such a hard time. That's not what's going to happen here. These are going to be people who know that she was a millionaire and she did this to her kids.
So you heard it from Marcy herself. She's a great person, great friend, always ready to help in any way she can and just contribute to any topic of discussion here. So All her links to her social medias I have in the description of this video below, so please go check her out and give her some support. She's a woman, she's been to women's prisons, and she's bringing something I can't. She's very realistic, she's not over the top, she doesn't embellish or glorify anything just for social media or clicks or views. She's very realistic, and I like that style because I like to think that's kind of my style too. So great person. I always reach out to her anytime we have someone or a video topic involving women inmates or women prisons. So thank you to Marcy for helping with this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you your answers you're looking for, some insight, information.
I'll link his original video and post it in the details.